Google Cloud Certified Professional Cloud Security Engineer Exam. Updated questions are the best material for you to study. Share some updated Professional Cloud Security Engineer Exam questions here. 1. Your security team uses encryption keys to ensure confidentiality of user data. You want to establish a process to reduce the impact of a potentially compromised symmetric encryption key in Cloud Key Management Service, Cloud KMS. Which steps should your team take before an incident occurs? Choose 2. A. Disable and revoke access to compromised keys. B. Enable automatic key version rotation on a regular schedule. C. Manually rotate key versions on an ad hoc schedule. D. Limit the number of messages encrypted with each key version. E. Disable the Cloud KMS API. 2. Your company is storing sensitive data in cloud storage. You want a key generated on premises to be used in the encryption process. What should you do? A. Use the Cloud Key Management Service to manage a data encryption key, DEK. B. Use the Cloud Key Management Service to manage a key encryption key, KEK. C. Use customer-supplied encryption keys to manage the data encryption key, DEK. D. Use customer-supplied encryption keys to manage the key encryption key, KEK. 3. Your organization is using GitHub Actions as a continuous integration and delivery (CL/CD) platform. You must enable access to Google Cloud resources from the CL/CD pipelines in the most secure way. What should you do? A. Create a service account key and add it to the GitHub pipeline configuration file. B. Create a service account key and add it to the GitHub repository content. C. Configure a Google Kubernetes engine cluster that uses workload identity to supply credentials to GitHub. D. Configure workload identity federation to use GitHub as an identity pool provider. 4. Your organization processes sensitive health information. You want to ensure that data is encrypted while in use by the virtual machines, VMs. You must create a policy that is enforced across the entire organization. What should you do? A. Implement an organization policy that ensures that all VM resources created across your organization use customer-managed encryption keys, CMEK, protection. B. Implement an organization policy that ensures all VM resources created across your organization are confidential VM instances. C. Implement an organization policy that ensures that all VM resources created across your organization use Cloud External Key Manager, EKM, protection. D. No action is necessary because Google encrypts data while it is in use by default. 5. A company has redundant mail servers in different Google Cloud Platform regions and wants to route customers to the nearest mail server based on location. How should the company accomplish this? A. Configure TCP proxy load balancing as a global load balancing service listening on port 995. B. Create a network load balancer to listen on TCP port 995 with a forwarding rule to forward traffic based on location. C. Use cross-region load balancing with an HTTPS load balancer to route traffic to the nearest region. D. Use Cloud CDN to route the mail traffic to the closest origin mail server based on client IP address. 6. A customer wants to make it convenient for their mobile workforce to access a CRM web interface that is hosted on Google Cloud Platform, GCP. The CRM can only be accessed by someone on the corporate network. The customer wants to make it available over the Internet. Your team requires an authentication layer in front of the application that supports two-factor authentication. Which GCP product should the customer implement to meet these requirements? A. Cloud Identity Aware Proxy. B. Cloud Armor. C. Cloud Endpoints. D. Cloud VPN. 7. An organization's typical network and security review consists of analyzing application transit routes, request handling, and firewall rules. They want to enable their developer teams to deploy new applications without the overhead of this full review. How should you advise this organization? A. Use Forseti with firewall filters to catch any unwanted configurations in production. B. Mandate use of infrastructure as code and provide static analysis in the CI/CD pipelines to enforce policies. C. Route all VPC traffic through customer-managed routers to detect malicious patterns in production. D. All production applications will run on-premises. Allow developers free rein in GCP as their dev and QA platforms. 8. You are onboarding new users into Cloud Identity and discover that some users have created consumer user accounts using the corporate domain name. How should you manage these consumer user accounts with Cloud Identity? A. Use Google Cloud Directory Sync to convert the unmanaged user accounts. B. Create a new managed user account for each consumer user account. C. Use the transfer tool for unmanaged user accounts. D. Configure single sign-on using a customer's third-party provider. 9. Your security team wants to reduce the risk of user-managed keys being mismanaged and compromised. To achieve this, you need to prevent developers from creating user-managed service account keys for projects in their organization. How should you enforce this? A. Configure Secret Manager to manage service account keys. B. Enable an organization policy to disable service accounts from being created. C. Enable an organization policy to prevent service account keys from being created. D. Remove the IAM service accounts. Get access token permission from users. 10. You are responsible for protecting highly sensitive data in BigQuery. Your operations teams need access to this data, but given privacy regulations, you want to ensure that they cannot read the sensitive fields such as email addresses and first names. These specific sensitive fields should only be available on a need-to-know basis to the HR team. What should you do? A. Perform data masking with the DLP API and store that data in BigQuery for later use. B. Perform data redaction with the DLP API and store that data in BigQuery for later use. C. Perform data inspection with the DLP API and store that data in BigQuery for later use. D. Perform tokenization for pseudonymization with the DLP API and store that data in BigQuery for later use.